always and forever. In the golden light of a late summer afternoon, Evan walked hand in hand with Lily along the garden path. The air was sweet with damask roses, and the soft hum of bees filled the spaces between their words. Lily's laughter bubbled up as they paused beneath a sprawling oak tree, her sundress catching the breeze. Evan watched as she tilted her head back to the sun, her smile radiant. "You always know the perfect place to bring me," she said, teasing. "What's your secret?" Evan grinned. "No secret. I just know you." Lily stood on tiptoes to kiss his cheek. "You're sweet, too sweet." Her blue eyes sparkled. "How'd I get so lucky?" "It's the other way around," he said, kissing her forehead. "You're the best thing that ever happened to me." They settled onto a bench beneath the oak, dappled sunlight dancing around them. Lily's fingers trailed along Evan's as she spoke of the roses, the way the garden reminded her of fairy tales. He had heard the story before, but listened closely anyway, enchanted by her voice. "Do you remember the first time we came here?" he asked softly. She furrowed her brow. "It was—" She paused. "Remind me?" Evan kept his smile steady. "It was spring, and the roses were in full bloom. You wore that yellow dress I loved. We sat right here and talked for hours." Her face brightened. "The yellow dress! I remember. You told me I was the most beautiful girl you'd ever seen." "Because you were," he said, voice thick. "And you still are." She laughed softly. "You're such a charmer, Evan." Resting her head on his shoulder, they sat in silence. Evan watched her as she watched the flowers, serene. "How long have we been together?" she asked suddenly. 62 wonderful years." Her eyes widened. "That long?" "Yes, my darling. Time flies when you're in love." She reached up to touch him, tracing the wrinkles at his eyes. "You've grown more handsome with age, and you've always taken such good care of me." "It's my honor, and I always will." She paused for a moment, studying Evan's face. "How long do you think we'll stay like this?" she asked. "As long as we can," he answered. "Longer if I have any say in it." As twilight fell, they wandered home slowly. At the door, Lily paused, turning to Evan. "I love you," she said simply, her eyes betraying the fog that grew heavier at dusk. "I love you too." Inside, he helped Lily to her favorite chair, his movements practiced and gentle. Evening light bathed the room, illuminating photographs, snapshots of a life well lived. Decades of love and laughter stared back at him. He knelt in front of Lily, brushing a silver strand from her face. Her gaze faltered for a moment, brows knitting in confusion. "Evan," she murmured, "how long have we been here?" He held her hand tightly, his smile unwavering. "Not long, sweetheart. Just long enough." Her smile returned, though faint, and she leaned into his touch. "You always take such good care of me." "And I always will," he promised. As the first stars appeared, Evan tucked Lily into bed. He turned out the light and lingered in the doorway, remembering the girl who had danced beneath the wild oak. There would always be things that time couldn't touch. Forever might look different now, but it was still theirs. The end.
Sorry, today has just been so long and... An exhausted sigh interrupted my daily routine of excuses. After what today put me through, I couldn't even finish my pitiful list. Just not tonight. I'm not in the mood. I abandoned my longtime partner in the kitchen and shamefully ascended the stairs like a child who refused dessert for not eating their vegetables. Despite finding myself in the magical world of mortgage payments, I still side with the youth on that particular issue. Dessert is just too important to pass up for my fellow sweet tooths. As I brushed my teeth, I offered my staircase the usual forlorn gaze. The love of my life was still down in her usual spot, waiting to see if I'd come back down. My heart sank in an attempt to reunite with her on the first floor, but my body remained stationary. It wasn't long before my eyes caved and followed my heart down to the floor. My feet were tender and callous from an overabundance of shifts at the plant. I just didn't have the energy I used to have, let alone the time. My partner deserved someone better, no doubt. Someone who could afford to spend every evening by her side. Someone who could provide the best necessities like I used to. Someone who could love her as much as I still do. But the memories, oh, the memories. How I wish I could turn back time and return to our days of baking. We made such a fantastic team, creating sweet and occasional savory treats for friends and relatives. Tender tea buns, decadent devil's food cake, crisp and chewy cookies, the list goes on. The way my dearest would miraculously manage to make meringues was a sight to behold. Sure, I was more than capable of pulling off such a feat on my own. But once she entered my life, it felt like we could accomplish anything together. Nowadays, I could barely look in her general direction. Even now, as I collapse into mounds of blankets that do little to comfort my chronically aching back, I face away. The sight of her is just much too bittersweet for me to handle before slipping away in slumber. She was a working girl, north of England way. Click. After cutting Sir McCartney off, I rolled over and reached for my phone. While grumbling over regaining consciousness quicker than what I would have liked, my eyes widened in what their sight had caught. Thinking it was a trick of the dust the Sandman had sprinkled in my eyes, I rubbed them out of disbelief as I read the urgent work email before me. A snow day? I hoisted the blinds up to reveal a smattering of snow strewn across the yard like powdered sugar on Linzer cookies. No, surely they must be joking, I murmured, flicking my phone back on as I braced for disappointment. But the disappointment never came. Due to high winds, the plant is down until further notice? I sat there gobsmacked before fully realizing the opportunity that had been presented to me. Within seconds, I robed up and clambered down the stairs like a kid on Christmas morning. No time to waste. Sure enough, my partner was sitting in her usual spot. Her bright red accents were as vibrant as maraschino cherries, and she sported magnificent curves that held her up in all of the right ways. What a dazzling sight. Oh, how I've missed you. And if KitchenAid mixers could talk, I'm sure she'd say the same thing back.
I maybe kind of love you. Is it true? Is what true? That you're talking to Ella Davis? I pursed my lips at the mental image of him and the pretty blonde. I don't know why, but I don't like it. His eyes narrow. Did Luke tell you? Did Luke tell me anything? Then how do you know? Why does it matter? He lets out a groan and pushes a hand back through his hair. My heart rate quickens as I try not to stare at how his bicep flexes as his dark curls cascade around his fingers. She's pretty, I say, trying to ignore the twinge in my chest. Probably just heartburn. I did have tomato soup for lunch. Yeah, he says, standing up from his desk. He towers a good foot over me. There's some distance between us, but the sudden urge to run away overcomes me like a tidal wave of denial. I tap my fingers to my thigh as a final attempt to ground myself. He notices, and his dark eyes snap to my leg. They lazily drag up my body to meet mine again. I feel the flush creeping across my skin. He smirks. Objectively, he's attractive. Dark curls, lean muscle, sharp jawline, the cutest row of brown freckles peppered across his nose. But from my perspective, he's the boy I've hated since I was an awkward, lanky preteen. Since then I've changed, as has he. But he can't have changed that much, right? Why does my love life interest you so much? He drawled. It doesn't. My heart beating a mile a minute, I exit the classroom as quickly as my legs will carry me. I lean up against a locker, my breathing shallow. What the hell is happening to me? School ended 15 minutes ago. My scarf blows behind me as I rub my hands together in the cold, empty parking lot. My dad is late, again, and it's one of those below zero days when I wish more than anything I'd worn my winter boots instead of my well-loved Vans. Why do you care? I spin around. He's standing several feet behind me, cheeks pinked from the wind. What? I reply, pretending not to know what he's talking about, when in fact, I know exactly what he's talking about. He closes the distance between us. Why do you care? He's so close I can see his breath condense in the air. So close I could count every one of those damn freckles on his nose. Don't think. No games, he cuts me off. Just the truth. My face falters. He reaches out and pushes a stray hair out of my face. His hand lingers against my cheek. The truth is that I maybe kind of love you. I breathe. As painful as it is for me to admit, as he swallows my rambling with a kiss. A kiss we'd been building up to since I first laid eyes on him 3 years ago at summer camp. A kiss I'd secretly been imagining since he transferred to my school this fall. He pushes away and looks down at me in a way no one else ever has. No might, no maybe. I just love you. He grins and pulls me back into an embrace, and as my arms wrap around his neck, I come to a divine conclusion. Maybe sometimes the person you think you hate is actually the one you never knew you loved.
Gertrude's Ecstasy. Gertrude sat there with lustful thoughts. She was meeting with 5 other ladies in Ruby Noseworthy's pristine living room to discuss their church's schedule for the upcoming Women's Ministry Conference, Living Pure Lives in Times of Upheaval. She had asked where George Noseworthy was, and Ruby said her husband was upstairs having a shower. Gertrude sat there listening to Ruby talk about catering while she bit her lip and visualized George. She did a hot kegel as she imagined him flicking off his briefs, stepping into the steaming shower, and standing there as warm water streamed over his gray chest hairs. She brought her thighs closer together under her green polyester skirt and felt her heart quicken. The sound of trickling shower water in the pipes behind her made her close her eyes slightly, like an unadulterated Saint Teresa in ecstasy. Ruby was droning on. It would be a mistake to invite Pamela Ryde out to speak. I hear she and her new boyfriend got to second base. An audible gasp swept through the women. Gertrude turned her gaze to the ceiling. Upstairs, George was indeed showering. He noticed the crack beneath him, too late. The floor gave way, and a torrent of enamel, rotten floorboards, and ceramic tiles unleashed themselves onto the women's meeting below. Thankfully, most women were spared, except for Gertrude, who, at the moment of release, reached her arms out to receive George. She was flattened by the tub, but momentarily ravaged by George's flailing body.
Roadside fireworks. Isaac had been more nervous about talking to Ophelia than he had been stealing his parents' car. Thankfully, as he watched the car burn in the middle of the gravel pit, he found a conversation starter. "Bit warm for Christmas, ain't it?" Ophelia looked at him, bewildered. They were crouched behind a rock where the gravel gave way to the woods, where the mild weather meant no December snow and a wild abundance of gray. Gray bark, gray rocks, gray skies. Ophelia broke the monotony with her purple winter coat and dawn-pink cheeks. "Is this normal for you?" she asked. "What?" "The car." Her smile showed the lovely gap between her two front teeth. Does this normally happen? You seem awful calm about it. Isaac held up his hands. There's not much I can do now, I guess. No water, Ben's cabin's still half an hour away, and the nearest town was 20 kilometers back. Fire department is on the way, but beside that... I mean, I could piss on it, but... The car's frame slammed to the ground as the tires popped. They silently watched the bonfire. I'm sorry, that was gross. No, Ophelia shrugged. I do my best thinking out loud, too. Isaac laughed. Lines like that were what attracted him to Ophelia. They went from classmates to friends to an odd transitionary space that Isaac's friend Ben suggested would be fixed with a trip up to his cabin for New Year's. A fine plan until smoke started billowing out of the car's hood and forced them off the road. I really am sorry about this, said Isaac. No, this isn't the best way to kick off the new year. Ophelia leaned back on her hands. Them sitting together was the rare time Isaac was eye level with her. In reality, she was nearly a foot taller. Don't worry about it. It'd take a lot more to ruin New Year's for me. I just like it too much. She looks around at the nearby trees for a while before asking, So, what's your least favorite? My least favorite New Year's? No, dummy. Holiday. Honestly? New Year's. Ophelia let out a low whistle. Hot take? I stand by it. Come on, it's fun. Have some drinks, sing some karaoke, start something new. But you can do that at any time. Isaac unknowingly started to gesture to accentuate his points, much to Ophelia's amusement. New Year's isn't special. Any day can be a new year. The traditions are nice, though. Like the kiss. Isaac watched the wreckage. I haven't done that. Me neither, admitted Ophelia. Just never been at the right place at the right time. Well, we could do it now. A flash of heat shot through Isaac, worsening when he saw Ophelia's surprise. I mean, the new year. Start the clock and start things off from here. If you want to. If she says no, thought Isaac, I'll just sit in the car for a while to cool off. Ophelia studied him. Her eyes dropped down to his lips and back up again. Okay. That one word nearly made his chest explode. Isaac cleared his throat. Right, so, got the music? Party poppers going off? Drunk uncle in the corner? Ophelia snorted. Of course. And countdown starts. 5. The cold in Isaac's body dissipated into a flurry of fireflies. 4. The distant flames and approaching sirens belonged to another world. 3. He noticed a little scar on Ophelia's cheek. 2. She slipped her hand on the back of Isaac's neck and pulled him in. 1.